Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Leslie M. Thornton here, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. Today's episode is called How to Upgrade Your Weight Loss Software. What do I mean by that? Consider that if you are struggling to stay consistent with your eating, with your exercise, you can't get up the motivation to exercise, and it just feels like an uphill battle. You know all the right things to do, but why can't I actually just get myself to do it? Or if I do, it lasts just a short amount of time and then I stop again. I hear this all the time. And I've had a lot of conversations this week that have kind of shed the light on, I've been able to shed the light for these individuals. And so I wanted to make sure that I also get to shed the light on yourself in case that's, something that you're stuck with and know that it can be valuable to you. So I want you to think of the last time that you were able to stay consistent on eating, you were able to stay consistent with your diet, you were able to stay on track, you were able to have the motivation to keep going to the gym, to follow the plan, whatever the plan looked like for you, whether that was keto, Weight Watchers, whatever it was for you, whenever it worked. Think about that time in your life. Now, first of all, of course, you remember how good it felt. You remember how much energy you had. You remember how you were able to stay consistent, and you probably felt on top of the world, just like so incredible. You felt so good. Been there. I get that. Absolutely. Now, I want you to also think about what else was going on in your life at that time. When I ask myself that, and when I really ask my clients that, and anyone else who contacts me, oftentimes their life was pretty different back when they were able to stay consistent, motivated, energized, and were feeling on top of the world following their food plan. Ones that I've seen just this past week has been, it was before I got married, it was before I had children, it was before I had grandchildren, it was before I started my own business, it was before we bought a house with acres of land, it was before fill in the blank. It was before my parents died. It was before I became the caretaker for my mom and dad. It was before fill in the blank. Okay. And so the question that I have for those individuals is, sounds like, first of all, not a question, but sounds like there's been a lot of change since then. Is it possible that now that you're living a bigger life, now that you have more responsibilities, you have more stressors that come along with more responsibilities, as well as more possibilities, more expansions, more, creations that you've had, or developments as you've grown and developed yourself, that's the reason why this isn't working, that you're not in the same kind of environment. And so what if what you actually need is to work on the emotions that are causing the stress and the anxiety, and consider that those emotions, and ask yourself, like, are the emotions the thing that are actually causing me to throw in the towel every time? Does things get too stressful and then I'm like, oh, forget it, I'm just going to order out tonight, right? Or, you're having challenges with a aging parent, or maybe you're going through menopause and you have hormonal shifts happening, or just whatever is going on, relationship stuff, stressful job that you have. And if, is it the emotion? Is the stress actually the thing? Do you then say to yourself, oh, well, then forget it, I'm not going to be able to do this anyway, so let me just eat? And every single time that I've asked this of people, they're like, absolutely, you know? And then we wait, okay? Our perfectionist selves are waiting until the someday, one day when everything calms down, when I'm just going to be able to get focused and get centered and get organized because we know how good that feels. And then I'm going to be able to do it. And then I'm going to be able to start. And then I'm going to be able to get back to that food plan. And then I'm going to be able to stay consistent. It's like the truth is, you're not like, is that really going to happen? Is there really going to be a day that you can foresee that everything is going to get super easy, super spacious, unless you actually do something different? I have a lot of clients that they live for their vacations, they live for their holidays, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Most people do. But then those holidays turn into, let me just overdo it on the eating and let me overdo it on the drinking, and then you come back and you feel like terrible, and then you are stressing about how am I going to start the diet, and then you do, and then right, just the whole exhausting cycle. And it is truly never ending, and the only way to stop it is to actually draw a line in the sand and do something drastically different. If you had the ability to every single day be able to create built-in stops and have your day-to-day life feel the way that you're wanting your next vacation to feel. Like, imagine if you could wake up and you felt spacious. You felt excited for the day. You felt like you actually wanted to have foods that made you fueled up and, you know, wanted to do all the things that you want to do. You wanted to go to your workout. Yeah. What would that be like for you? Is that something that would feel exciting to you? I can't imagine that someone would say no to that. And if I was to tell you that the access to that is by your mastering your emotions, mastering your thoughts, right? And so, some of the main challenges that my clients face are, they're procrastinating. They know what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not. They're scrolling on their phone, they're eating, they're drinking, they're whatever. And then the next thing that happens is they're hard on themselves. Oh, you should know better. You shouldn't be doing that. Just talked to an awesome woman from the UK today, and she was talking about, like, I have a friend, and she and I used to work out together, and she invited me to work out with her this past year, and I just didn't do it. I didn't have the energy to do it. And now my friend, she looks great. She's lost a bunch of weight, and now I'm angry with myself. Oh, if I just got to work on that with her last year, I would be in that same position. And now she's beating herself up. But then the next thing she said was, and I know I shouldn't be doing that. I know that I shouldn't be comparing myself. I know that, her journey is different than mine. I want you to understand, I get that you know that. And I also want you to understand that this is, it's not about knowing the right thing. You know all the right things to do. The problem is you're not actually doing it. And then you get stuck in that vicious cycle, okay, of beating yourself up, then you're stressed out, then you're eating food, then you're exhausted. The exhaustion causes you to eat more. Then you're like, okay, I'm going to get back on track tomorrow. And then you're good for a little while. And then 2 p.m. comes and your hand's in the chip bag. And it just keeps going over and over again. It goes over and over again. This is not a food issue. It's not a you issue. It's not a willpower issue. It's not any of those things. This is an emotional and mental issue. And consider that life is giving you this challenge, right? That I was talking to another amazing human today, talking about how currently his wife is going through chemotherapy. Rough time. He went from working for himself, right, and just needing to take care of himself. Has had an independent wife, and they were headed towards retirement years, to being the full caretaker of the home and of his wife and trying to financially support the household. That is tough. That is super tough. Now, I don't need to tell him that. He knows that that's tough. And he is upset because he's overeating at nighttime, and, he's not able to actually get the things done. And now he's concerned about his finances. And so it's like, okay, so this is a temporary thing. His wife, amazingly is getting off chemo in about a month, and I think she's doing well, sending so much good energy. And anyone else who's dealing with anything like that, I literally pray for all human beings at night who are dealing with sickness. And it's just like, that is a rough space to be in. And it's kind of like, okay, it's like, let me just, like, you could look at it like, let me just get support during this time. But it's also, and this is something that was so fun to talk to him about, an opportunity to actually increase your emotional threshold of what you can handle. And in neurolinguistic program, we talk about the law of requisite variety. So this basically says that the person with the most flexibility of behavior controls the system. Now, we don't mean control in a negative way, but we just mean like you get the best outcome the more flexible that you are. And so if you are a black and white thinker, if you're an all or nothing kind of thinker, this is keeping you in that perfectionist mentality, and consider that's also keeping you living a smaller life. Yeah, like everything that you want is usually on the other side of getting out of perfectionist mentality, because the truth is, like, there's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be things out of your control in your life. There's always going to be the next event that doesn't feel great. So the analogy that I gave this man, he went from, working as a medical provider into being an entrepreneur, and was talking about, like, how there's, CEOs of companies or people who are super successful, and they oftentimes, you'll see them, they'll like be canceling meetings during the day. They'll quickly schedule their meeting something else. Like, they're constantly in and out of integrity. They're jumping around and they're doing it quickly. Now, from the standpoint of someone who might be like not the CEO, but maybe a worker in the company, they could be judging them of being like, oh, wow, they're going, like, oh, they're canceling their meetings all the time. Like, they should have better integrity. And the reality is like, consider that the way that they got to be the CEO, the way they got their success or their ability to, grow in that way and succeed in that way, is their ability to be more flexible in your behavior. And he loved that. And he was like, yes, like, this is really about exercising that muscle of me just like taking on and being more flexible and learning how to more quickly adjust to life circumstances changing and still be effective. Yeah. So consider that diet mentality has made it so that you're pretty inflexible with your eating. You just expect yourself to do what you did in the past when you lived a smaller life, not worse life, smaller life, less responsibilities, less experiences, less, you know what I'm saying? That's when you're able to do it, and that's fine. And now you've expanded, right? You're being asked, there's an invitation, if you choose to see it this way, to live a cooler life, to be able to go in and out of integrity. I have another private client, and she kept getting down on herself. She's like, I'm not checking the emails. I'm not responding to the emails. I have so many emails. My emails are piling up. Absolutely. Right. Guess what? My emails are also piling up. The difference is I'm not judging myself for that. And what if the fact that your emails are piling up is actually a good sign that you're living a bigger life, that you have other better things to do than go through your email and respond to every single person who's coming to you? When I did my extensive leadership training, it got harder and harder to actually be able to communicate with the leader all the way at the top, right? And it's like actually a thing of, that's part of the development of, leadership and creating expansion. Is like, you only can focus on the top priority things. And so these less important things, it's like, no, you just don't have time for that. And trusting that whatever is actually urgent or important, like, it is going to come to you. So we were literally trained, like, I had to go in order to communicate with the leader of my program, and I had to like insert myself. I had to get into her desk and interrupt her flow and say, hey, do you have a minute? Like, and I had to sit down. I had to communicate clearly what was going on to get through to her. She wasn't responding to text. She wasn't responding to email, not to be mean. But it was also part of the development for her to probably not respond, right? And it was the development of me to actually insert myself and say, hey, see me, I'm here. Okay, so it's like the difference is I'm not judging myself for that. But when you're judging yourself for what you're not doing, your incompletions, what you're not doing right or perfectly or whatever, like that is the parameter that slows us down. It's the parameter that slows you down. And, you can look for yourself. Like, does me judging myself and being negative about what I'm doing and also my mindset about this, like, is that the thing that's actually slowing me down? Yeah. And it's like, okay, so what if I actually thought of this in an entirely different way? Like, this is actually a good sign that I'm not doing this because, and it makes sense because my focus is over here. I have another client. She'd talk about, my house is a mess and I can't get organized. And she'd be so mad at herself. I can't stand looking at these piles and why can't I get this organized? Like, how much mental space is being focused on what you cannot do? And so, the way that I think about it is like sometimes my house is a mess and sometimes I'm not organized with stuff. Again, the difference is I'm not judging myself for that because I look to see like, of course my house isn't organized. I have been in service and working with people to, support them and getting their results. And that's also a goal of mine, like to take care of my, responsibilities and my finances. And that's what I need at this time. And therefore, it's a good sign that other things have gotten out of the way. And then, I just gave an NLP and hypnosis training, 7-day training. So, that's my focus is delivering the training and doing a fantastic job. So if my house is out of order, I'm not upset about it. I'm like, of course it is. I am focused on what the priority is. I trust myself to see that. And naturally, literally, like the day before the last day, I had the energy to go and do all the house stuff and get things back in order again. And realizing I always do that. So, but consider that the judgment of yourself for anything, the judgment of the way you're eating, working out, not working out, like, oh, I should do this and comparing to that. And like all of this mental vicious cycle that's happening, that's the problem. Like that's what's holding you down. Yeah. And so it's like we need to upgrade the weight loss system. We need to actually be like, let's actually look at what's going on in your life right now. You are busy, business owner, mom, grandparent, caretaker, this, that, business, like work, this, that, like all this kind of stuff. And it's awesome, right? Like, hopefully you can, and if you don't, but I'm sure there's a lot to celebrate. Like, you're probably like unstoppable and you always go after what you want and you make things happen and you show up fully for other people. And right? I was just talking to another woman last night and she was talking about like, oh, I can't stay consistent in this problem and this problem and this problem. Like our brains will only show us the problems. And then when she kept talking about her life and her different experiences, I was like, that sounds awesome. Like you sound like someone who's so unstoppable that you can't like ever, you're obviously like someone who's going after what she wants and making things happen. And she's like, oh, well, I guess you could say that. And she's like, my boss says that. She says that like my ideas were the things that actually got them through the pandemic and like made their dental practice so incredible. Right. And it's like, but the difference is she wasn't seeing herself that way. She just feels the stress and then the feelings create the negative thinking. So when she feels bad, because yes, you're doing stressful things, but it's also a good sign. Like stress means possibility, it means growth, it means expansion, it means like you're doing something that's extraordinary. But what your mind is making that stress mean of like, it's my fault and I should be better and I'm failing in this completely changes the lens on your experience. Yeah, it's like I'm stressed every day. I'm also scared every day. Yeah, I'm also whatever every single day. But the reason that I am happy in life and I have time and I enjoy my life and I couldn't ask for anything more, right? Oh, I could ask for more and I do ask for more, but like I don't have any doubts I'm going to have more through my own expansion is because of how I perceive what is going on. I know where I'm going. I know the person who I used to be, the woman that I used to be, and I know the person that I am now, and realizing that if I didn't experience those stressors, I wouldn't get to be her now, right? Which, like, then I wouldn't get to help, the people that I'm helping now because I wouldn't have learned those lessons to make me, right? It's like diamonds form under pressure. So I'm thankful for this stress. I'm choosing the stress. Yeah, versus like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And I can't do this and staying stuck in that loop. It's looping in the mind. Yeah, and it's not your fault. We will all do that unless you're actually doing something different, unless you're learning something new about how to handle this better in a way deeper way. Yes, I want to invite you to like stop the judgment of yourself. Stop making yourself wrong and bad for not staying consistent and for why can't I do this and what's wrong with me. Like that is such a disempowering state. It has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with the fact that you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that there's a way to think differently about something. You don't know that there can be joy in the stress. You don't know that there can be happiness every single day of your life. But you can't get that unless you take action, unless you do something different. I just got an email from a past colleague of mine, and she was saying how with coaching that she sells high ticket coaching the same way that I do. And she was saying how, she really wants to like let people know that, and that everything that she has in her life today is because she has hired and paid high ticket for a coach. And she was saying there's coaches that you can get that are cheaper, right? You can definitely find a coach that will charge you $100 an hour for your coaching. And those coaches, they mean well, right? They really want to help you, and they have all those different types of things. And the same way that you can't know what you don't know, right? I can't know what I don't know, but these new coaches, they also don't know what they don't know, right? And so you're going to get a service that not as impactful as when you're actually doing this. The other side of that is the investment of like whatever amount of investment that you make in yourself. And I always say to people, it should feel equally as exciting as it does scary, right? And that level changes as you evolve. Like for myself, the first time I invested in myself was $4,000, and that felt pretty scary. And then now I'm all the way up to $30,000 investments. This woman, this email was saying, I just spent $30,000 for 3 hours of someone's time, right? So it's like, money is subjective, but it's also like you're going to get the best value, right? You're going to get what you pay for, essentially. So just for yourselves, it's just understanding like, do you have the tools? Do you have the best possible support for yourself as you're going through what you're going through? Do you know how to solve your issue? Do you know how to get out of this? Yeah. But I just want to invite you to drop the stories about any of that kind of stuff. It just doesn't have to do that. You just need to work with someone that can actually support you in seeing something else that you can't see, flip it on its head. They've been there where you've been before, and then send you on your way to get all of it back so much quicker. You don't have a food, body, and weight issue. You have an emotional issue. You have a thinking issue. Emotions lead to, if you feel a negative emotion, your brain wants to think negative thoughts, but you're buying into those thoughts and believing in those thoughts. That is where the stuckness happens. Okay? You access the emotions, you change the script, you tell yourself a different story, right? You get that kind of support, and now you're playing a whole different ball game. I said this a little bit on the last podcast episode, but I didn't have the verbatim to read it out loud. But in the past, she's such a lovely client of mine. We did a podcast episode together too. She let me have her live coaching sessions be used. And so she worked with me. Let's see. She worked with me. I want to give the specific dates. So she started with me, last year. This was October of 2023. And she did my Fast Track to Freedom program. And this is what she said. just this past week. I just returned from a 7-day cruise to Alaska, and because of what I learned from hypnosis for permanent weight loss, I did not gain even 1 pound. I ate and enjoyed myself. I even drank alcohol now and then if I felt like it. Our table host would bring us one of every dessert every night, usually about 6 desserts. He wouldn't take no for an answer. They were beautiful to look at, however, they were not tempting. I would try a bit of each one, maybe a couple of the ones I liked best. It was so freeing not to worry about it. The old me would have eaten much more. I would have had the attitude that I better eat as much as I can because when I get home, I will diet. That word is no longer in my vocabulary. I can't even remember the last time I binged. It's all about balance now and loving who I am. Could I be thinner? Yes, but I don't want to be. I am happy where I am. Thank you. Right? It's just like, how? So, do you need to upgrade the system? Do you need to upgrade your weight loss system? Does it make sense that even if right now might be trying, like, what if God, the universe, like higher self is trying to teach you how to increase your emotional threshold to handle harder things, to give you a better, happier experience in life? And yes, the food, body, and weight triggers are the thing that's catalyzing you to listening to this conversation, to look for this support. But like, is there a part of you that knows that this is about something way deeper? Are the words that I'm saying to you resonating in a way that's like you're not even sure if you understand it, right? Like, but there's something in you. I talked to this woman today and, I was like, she was experiencing night terrors and she had PTSD and like a lot of these kind of things going on in her background. She thinks there's some sexual abuse in the past. And, you know, after I dug deeper, because I always want to make sure I'm the right coach for somebody and that I really can help them, it was like, I am 100% sure I can help you. Like, this is exactly what it's going to be like. It's exactly what it's going to look like. And then we got to the price point of it. And then, right, then it shuts down. Okay. Then it's like, oh, and then she's like, all these other things. So it's like, okay, again, bad feeling then brings all this, not great thinking. So innocent, nothing wrong with it, normal. It would happen to myself as well. The difference is my awareness around what's happening because of my understanding how feelings create thinking and, what else is true and all this type of stuff. And I'm going to give you some of that right now. So then she's like, oh, well, how can I know it's going to work for me? And how do I actually know it's going to work and all this type of stuff? And it's like, absolutely, right? There's a risk that we take anytime you're hiring someone. Like, how do you know when you hire a contractor to fix your back patio that they're actually going to do a good job? You only have what, like, them telling you that they can fix it, right? And maybe a couple, like, you got referred to by someone and maybe they said they can fix it, right? But it's like, at the end of the day, like, how do you really know? You don't, but something in you energetically says, I can trust this person and then let me get it done. This is a need that I have, so let me get my patio fixed, right? It's like, is your, the mental and emotional aspect of food, body, and weight a need that you have? And then anyway, so I said to her, I was like, okay, so money aside for a second, like just looking before I said anything about the price, like, did it feel exciting to you? And did you actually feel like, oh my gosh, some hope of like, there is actually a solution? Right. And so what I've learned is like, when you feel that energy in your body that's saying like, yes, it's saying like, oh my gosh, this just feels right. I feel confident. Like, I do feel like this is the right person and this is the right program and now's the right time. Then it's like, how can we trust that? So from that space of knowing inside yourself, right? And this is where like, you need to build this muscle through intuitive eating to trust yourself and your decisions, right? Because again, if you made decisions in the past and, oh, I wasted money, or you've never spent money on yourself before, or all these different things are going to affect how your decisions in the future, right? But it's just like your mindset about that as well, right, is going to affect, again, your thought process about it. So, but when you feel that pull inside yourself that says something about this, like my invitation is like, how can you trust that? And then the question doesn't become, like it's not like, oh, I can't do it. It just becomes, how can I? Like, everything in me knows that this is right. This is aligned, right? And then from that space, it's like, yeah, then let's just figure out a way to help you get this. You know, like we have financing options, we have payment plans, we have different things. Like, it's just, how can you actually give yourself like permission and trust that when the energy feels aligned like that, then you go. And it is terrifying. I feel terrified every time I make an investment. I don't care how big or small it is. I'm scared. But then I check in with my body and it's like, this feels absolutely right. This feels like it's aligned. It feels like this is what I need, right? And if I'm not sure, then I ask whatever questions to make sure that it feels like what I need. And then everything in my life opens up from that point. I'll even share with you, I made an investment a year and a half ago. And I thought, you know, like this was definitely it. This was the answer. And I felt it in my body. And so I said yes. And it was like a $36,000 program. And I went for it. And then during that program, I felt like a little bit like, damn, I think I made the wrong decision. I think I joined the wrong group. I think I should have spent more time making this decision. I should have done more due diligence. And then I looked at it and like I met one person in that mastermind that has introduced me to this whole other network of human beings that really love this work. They really get it. They're science based. They're dentists. Like dentists actually need this, and like that's the medical professionals and all this type of stuff, and like been really able to serve powerfully these humans that are awesome human beings, and they happen to be pretty emotionally and mentally stuck with procrastination and negative self-talk and all this type of stuff. If I didn't do that mastermind, I would never have met this girl who then introduced me to this entire thing that is like giving me all this purpose. Yeah, and there's like other awesome things that came out of that. And it's like I made that decision from that feeling of like inner high, of inner knowing, of like just trusting that energy. And like, even though I had all the mental thoughts about it, it's like, how did that bring me like such goodness, even if it was different than what I was expecting? All this to say is like, I want to invite you to trust the energy. Trust what you're feeling. Trust, like, if you're loving this podcast, trust it and book a call. You know, like it doesn't happen by just listening. It happens when you feel the call, right? And obviously my job is to get better communicator so that you can feel the call, right? If it looks good, if it feels good, if it sounds good and it makes sense to you, then book the call. Yeah. Find out the information for yourself and then have a conversation about how can we do this? You know, my whole life has happened because of coaching, because of my taking ownership of my mindset and knowing that however I'm thinking is going to affect my results that I'm able to produce. If I didn't hire coaching and do high ticket coaching, I wouldn't have gotten free from my mental struggles with food, body, and weight, right? If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now, making a difference for you guys. And you know, like whatever, and getting to live a bigger, cooler life because of that. Like, anyway, you can hear my passion. And the point is, you're not the same as you were before. Your life is bigger and better. You might not be seeing it that way, but maybe take a look at to see how awesome you are and what you've created and how, like, persistent and relentless. Like if you were able, this one woman was like, I did 13 years of eating perfectly on this plan and exercise. I'm like, 13 years, good for you. I was like, I only could do 3 years of following a super strict plan like that before I got emotional and ate one bite of Balinese food on my travels and then couldn't stop eating after that, which led me to all the chaos. Like, 13 years, good for you. If you are able to stay consistent on a diet for any period of time and lose weight, like that says something about you. You have resilience, you have what it takes, you take action outside your comfort zone, you can say no to yourself, you can say no to others. Like those are all incredible things. And it's like, okay, now you learned that, but like, have you learned how to master your emotions? Have you learned how to be able to get faster and faster of going in and out of integrity that allows you to have food freedom? Right? Like I can easily adjust. Like, okay, maybe I have a piece of cake or something and I think that it's going to feel good, but then it slows me down and makes me sluggish. rather than beating myself up and like going into this whole thing about it and then eating and eating and eating for the next 30 days and whatever. It's just like, I now have the tools to be able to get past that quickly and then to be able to move on and make a better, different, healthier decision the next time. And like in and out and in and out and in and out. And like, again, that translates out into every single area of life where it's like in and out and in and out and in and out. And life gets faster and cooler and I'm happier and I'm more energetic and I'm more consistent. And here's the thing, like, you don't have to do that. And like, you can look for yourself, like, does that muscle, exercising that muscle of just learning how to be more flexible with your eating, feel like a worthwhile use of your time? Yeah. And if it does, then okay, then get it, then book the call. Anyway, so I hope this is helpful. You deserve so much love. You deserve to live the best life. I'm like, really believe that it's like, how much time do we have on earth? Right? Like this woman I was talking to today, she's like, I've spent 20 years taking care of my kids and my husband and my family. Like I never put myself first. It's like, we all have to make investments in ourselves, right? Like you have to. So then it just comes down to like, are you wanting to make an investment in yourself right now? If the answer is no, okay, that's fine. Got it. And then that's it. And then keep listening to the podcast. But if the question is like, yes, I do want to make an investment in myself right now. I know it's time for me to put myself first, right? You've been doing that, everything else. Like if your child needed what you're needing, if your child was dealing with mental and emotional, constant thinking about food, body, and weight, and they were like, Mom, I am freaking struggling, right? And then they were like, I have this program that's going to give me all the tools that I need to like get past this in my life for good. And here's all the details. Would you bat an eye about making sure you're going to find a way to get that for your child? No. Right? So it's like, how can we support you to like not bat an eye to get the support for yourself and get that? Like, I heard this woman today, she was just like, I was like, so what are you afraid of if you do invest in yourself? And she was like, I feel like I'm selfish if I invest in myself. I was like, is it possible that you're more selfish by not? She's like, yeah. Because like, are people getting the best of you? Like they're getting a stressed out version of you and you're getting more and more unhealthy, getting more sick, right? Taking years off your life by not taking care of yourself. And then you're going to die earlier because you're just so committed to like acting like a humble servant that has no needs. Like, no. It's innocent, right? This is just the stuff. And that's my job, is to just support you in actually asking those deeper questions to yourself so we can actually make a difference, that we can actually save your life. We can get you to live longer. There is the now happiness, but there's also like the lifelong health and happiness, prevention of disease and cancers and all sorts of, issues, prevention of divorce, prevention of all these things, and that's the hardest part. I'm a nurse by trade and working with people in the hospital, and they already had these diseases that were caused by not taking care of ourselves. And I was like, I got to get to these people before they end up here. Right? And it's like, you might judge me for having such like an urgent emergency kind of tone, but to me it's an emergency, like, and if I'm not going to make this urgent for you, who is? You're not. And I get it, but life isn't getting any less whatever. There's never a perfect time to invest. Even that email that I read from that previous colleague of mine, she was just like, there's never magically money in the bank account to take action on this. It's never the perfect time. The difference is she and I do it anyway. And you can also do it anyway. I believe in you. I love you. Thank you for listening to this episode. And I'll see you for the next one. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.